In my previous life, during the allocation of housing for educated youths, I went to great lengths to get Cheng Liwen assigned to live with me. Later, Cheng Liwen got into Huada University and became the first golden phoenix to fly out of the mountainous village in 10 miles. After graduation, he married me according to the engagement agreed upon years earlier, but on our wedding night, he violently pushed me down the stairs. He said, "If you hadn't acted so maliciously back then, how could Shuryen have been assigned to the Li widow's home?" She was forced to marry the widow's mentally disabled son, then suffered a miscarriage, destroying her entire life. She didn't even get a chance at the college entrance exam. I was crippled by the fall and tossed into a leaking, dilapidated hut. Meanwhile, Cheng Liwen rapidly remarried the daughter of a high-ranking official and achieved great success in life, even after retirement. He wrote an autobiography recalling his romantic love with Lin Shuryen during the harsh years. When I was begging on the streets in utter desperation, it was Lin Shuryen who collected my corpse. This life, when housing was allocated at the educated youth station, I decided to let Lin Shuryen live in my home. It was June, the Dam Valley field was blazing with a scorching sun like fire. Beside me, my father quietly puffed on his pipe tobacco. The acrid smoke mixed with the noise of people in the field, swirling into my nose. This wasn't a dream. I had truly returned to the day of housing assignments for educated youths. I remembered clearly that at this time, after several consecutive rainfalls, the old earthen huts at the educated youth station couldn't withstand the weather. Half a wall collapsed and the roof developed a large hole. The village chief was frantic, rubbing his hands anxiously, and finally made the decision to disperse the youth. Any household with an empty room would temporarily host them. My father was the party secretary of the village. Naturally, he had to take the lead. He had been waiting early in the morning on the field to assign housing. In the center of the field stood 10 educated youths, their eyes nervously scanning the surrounding villagers. The more resourceful ones had already discreetly approached familiar villagers, securing favorable accommodations for themselves. Others, timid or strict by nature, were faithfully waiting for assignments. Only Cheng Liwen kept his chin slightly raised. Despite his confident expression, he pretended to frown, as if troubled by something. His close friend, Lu Wei, noticed and twitched his lips. "That Su girl really insisted on you, huh?" Cheng Liwen looked reluctant on the surface, but his tone held hidden pride. "No choice. She kept talking about making me stay at her house." Then shifting his tone, he looked toward the girl beside him, worrying. "Shuryen, don't worry, no matter which household you go to, I'll take care of you." The girl nearby, Lin Shuryen, with her braided pigtails, tightly gripped the bag in her hands but said nothing. The sidekick is going to cause trouble again. If she hadn't let Cheng Liwen live at her house, how could the main heroine have been assigned to the widow's home? Poor heroine, assigned finally to the Li widow's place, forced to marry that idiot. Earlier comments calling it a pit were spot on. I heard the sun at the Li widow's house even hits people. Imagine how much the heroine suffered. It's heart-wrenching just thinking about it. The heroine and male lead were clearly in love, yet unable to be together due to later misfortunes. So heartbreaking. Lai Daju's house, Lu Wei, educated youth. Wang Dasheng's house, Hu Shu, educated youth. The team leader called out one by one, and fewer educated youths remained on the field. "Daughter, Dad will sort it out for you right away," my father said, finishing his pipe. The ash fell onto the ground in a shower. He was about to step forward. "Dad, wait." I hurriedly grabbed his sleeve and handed over the crumpled piece of paper in my palm. "Dad, write this, don't change it." He took it with suspicion, but didn't dwell on it. After all, last night I had been crying and insisting that Cheng Liwen was diligent in study and trustworthy, banging my head and dragging him into wanting to stay at our house. When the team leader took the note and read it, he lifted his hand and wrote on the blackboard, "Su Jianguo's house, Lin Shuryen, educated youth." Hooray! The nearby villagers immediately turned their heads, eyes filled with wanton gossip, staring straight at me and Su Jianguo. "Hey! Why is the Lin youth going to Su Jianguo's house? Didn't Su Qing just a while ago cry and demand that Cheng youth stay with her?" Who knows? Maybe the village party secretary made the choice. That heartless girl Su Qing couldn't resist her father. Ha ha ha, that's right. Someone saw Su's girl blocking Cheng's educated youth yesterday, talking to him. Who doesn't know that she's set on Cheng Liwen? Everyone in the village knew that I'd had several fights with the village chief's daughter, Su Yume, all to try to get Qing the educated youth to stay at my house. Qing Liwen suddenly raised his head, as if unable to believe his ears. Lin Shiyan, on the other hand, looked somewhat stunned. The brigade leader had no time for these side issues. He was comparing names on the list. There's one last person left. Qing Liwen still hasn't been assigned a place. Oh right, didn't Aunt Lia Shu's house free up a West Wing room recently? Lia Shu was nearly 50. Her husband had passed away long ago, and she lived at the village's edge with her only son, who was simple-minded. The villagers usually called her Widow Li. A chorus of voices filled the air, but I didn't have the heart to pay attention. Ahead, the bullet comments scrolled rapidly. What's going on? Why didn't the side character end up sleeping with Cheng Liwen? Instead, it says Lin Shiyan. Could they be scheming something? They just fought with the third female lead yesterday, and now suddenly changed their mind, most likely just taking it out on Lin Shiyan. +1, used to chase Cheng Liwen like a dog, now suddenly let go. This looks like a deliberate feigned retreat, probably planning to control Lin Shiyan first, then force Cheng Liwen to give in later. Bet a cup of taro pudding. I don't think so. Besides, the conditions at Widow Li's house, Lin Shiyan would be better off at Su's than falling into a hell pit. In fact, my father's face instantly darkened, and he was about to scold me, but probably remembering his position as village party branch secretary, he couldn't afford to make a scene in front of the villagers. He only glared at me. Yuda, this girl just won't let me rest easy. Wait till we get back home, then I'll deal with you. I quickly tugged at his sleeve. Dad, just this once. I'll never be willful again, never again. In my last life, it was because I chased him relentlessly, insisting Cheng Liwen stay at my house. After that, I was fixated on marrying him. In order to satisfy me, Dad went through great lengths, petitioning to send him food stamps, running back and forth to help him when his chance to return to the city was blocked, even humbling himself to smile at commune officials and sacrifice his dignity as party branch secretary. But in the end, his own son Cheng Liwen's behavior drove him to an angry death. Dad had business to handle and asked me to wait by the roadside with Lin Shiyan, helping carry some luggage. No more than a few steps after he left, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Cheng Liwen stormed forward, a tight fist in his hand, his face flushed with anger. Su Qing, a few days ago, weren't you chasing me, insisting I stay at your place? What's going on now? Lu Wei followed him, wearing a look of righteous indignation, as if speaking up for his friend. Exactly, Su Qing. Your change of mind is faster than flipping a page. You're even letting Lin Shiyan stay at your house. Could it be you're taking advantage of Lin Shiyan's gentle nature and planning to deliberately bully her? Cheng Liwen suddenly seemed to have an epiphany, his tone magnanimous. Su Qing, stop acting childish. Do you think you can trick Lin Shiyan into your home, control her, and then bully her? It was said that Cheng Liwen had attended high school in the county town, and if not for some twist of fate, he would have gone straight to university. Lin Shiyan went to the same school as him. When Cheng Liwen came to our village, he wore a blue shirt that had been washed pale white, neat and refined looking. He always spoke with his chin slightly raised, and I couldn't look away from him. From that moment on, I kept finding excuses to go to the educated youth station. I felt he was the most special one among them, but now, thinking back, that specialness back then was merely something I gave Cheng Liwen, like a golden aura. It was my longing for life in the city. I immediately interrupted him. Cheng Liwen, you've always thought I'm annoying, right? Now I don't want you to stay at my house. It's exactly what you want, isn't it? But, I turned to look at Lin Shiyan walking over. I want Lin Shiyan to stay at my house. Besides, my father is the party branch secretary. The team has repeatedly emphasized taking care of the educated youth. Have you ever seen a party branch secretary's daughter openly bullying an educated youth? Cheng Liwen's face turned black again instantly. You don't regret it. I let out a, who should be regretting this? Compared to other sent-down youth, Cheng Liwen's luggage was just a canvas bag. He probably knew I'd give him supplies, so I remembered he gave most of his bedding and clothes to Lu Wei. Now he must be coming back embarrassed. Let's go, Lin Shiyan. I didn't want to talk to Cheng Liwen anymore. I angrily pulled Lin Shiyan and left. I must have sounded harsh, but Lin Shuyan obediently followed me without a word of complaint, but I saw her sleeve wrinkled from my pull and awkwardly let go. I'm not taking it out on you, Lin Shuyan. I had indeed made sarcastic remarks toward Lin Shuyan because of Cheng Liwen before, but after experiencing everything from my past life, I finally realized, people like him weren't worth it. Everything was just my own delusion. Besides, in my previous life, I drifted around the streets and eventually froze to death under a bridge. It was Lin Shuyan, who had returned to the city to work, who finally recognized me, paid for my burial, and even gave me a proper farewell. Lin Shuyan nodded, gazing at me thoughtfully. I know, Su Qing. We had to pass by Widow Li's house on our way home. The adobe house was truly shabby, with half of the plastering flaked off and a half-burned stack of firewood piled in a corner. Just as we reached the gate, we saw a half-grown boy crouched on the threshold, Li's son, Erju. When he saw people approaching, especially seeing me and Lin Shuyan, two women, he immediately grinned foolishly and mumbled, "And, new bride." We ignored him, but Erju suddenly scrambled off the threshold, skipping forward until he was nearly in Lin Shuyan's face. My mother said, "You're the new bride. Be my wife." Lin Shuyan's face turned pale. Without thinking, I yanked Lin Shuyan aside. "Erju, come back." Li's widow came rushing out of the house, hurriedly pulling Erju back, then gave us an embarrassed smile. "This child says silly things. Don't take it to heart, don't take it to heart." I pulled Lin Shuyan quickly through the gate, but a suffocating feeling rose in my chest. In my past life, Lin Shuyan ended up assigned here. She spent 2 years in this leaky mud hut, then was persuaded by Li's widow to marry Erju somehow. After getting pregnant, she tripped over the threshold while working and suffered a miscarriage. When she finally managed to get into college, Li's widow hid her acceptance letter. Cheng Liwen was right. This was all my fault. I must make amends. The West Wing room had been tidied up by me the day before. My mother had already swept it clean, even using a bamboo pole to remove cobwebs from the beams. Thinking about Cheng Liwen's arrival, I went to the roadside and picked some flowers, placing them in a ceramic bowl to nourish them. It was said to be a scholar's sentiment. It was the same room in my last life. As soon as Cheng Liwen stepped inside, his brows never relaxed. "This is your spare room. Even the wood sheds in our county were brighter than this." Later he kept bringing up speculations. Back in the county, my desk was made of rosewood. My mom sent me malted milk. I didn't even dare to drink it at the sent-down youth station. The superiority and discontent seeping from his words made me feel as if we had wronged him. Desperately wanting to give him the best, I secretly stuffed him with eggs I had saved. I tried to get my mother to alter the new cloth shoes I made for him to fit his size. I even urged my father to get him a more relaxed job. But now, Lin Shuyan stood at the door, her eyes blinking gently. "Thank you, Su Qing. This room is spacious and clean. I love it. Thank you all." This was the second time she'd spoken to me voluntarily today. To be honest, I had always disliked her before. I always thought she was aloof. At that time, I kept saying to myself she was faking it, but secretly, I was just inferior. I hadn't even finished junior high, and I knew fewer words than those in her books, yet she could read Russian by holding a book. Now, standing face to face with her, I still felt a bit awkward. I quickly straightened my face, deliberately hardening my tone. "No need to thank me. If you're staying here, you must follow our family rules. Eat on time, wash your own clothes, and don't read aloud in the courtyard and disturb the neighbors." After saying that, I didn't dare to look at her reaction and turned to head toward the door. Ling Xiuan put down her things and, without resting for long, went to the kitchen to help my mother with chores. My father returned late in the evening, carrying the grains assigned by the village to the sent-down youth. As soon as he entered, he asked me, "Daughter, what's going on? Yesterday you were crying and begging for Cheng Liwen to come, but today you've changed your mind." Actually, my mother had asked me the same thing after meeting Lin Xiuan. I almost dropped to my knees and swore, "Father, I was blind before, now I see. Cheng Liwen isn't that impressive after all." My father stared at me for a long moment, still suspicious. After all, I had been begging last night to let Cheng Liwen stay at our house, and now I acted like nothing had happened. Fine. In fact, I never liked that young man to begin with. He's not reliable, and living under our roof might not bring peace either. For dinner, My mother probably thought Lin Xiuan was new here and deserved special treatment, so she gritted her teeth and took the fattest chicken from the coop. After hearing my decision from my father, she muttered, "Only when Lin the sent-down youth comes do we finally spare an indulgence. If it were Cheng Li Wen, we'd refuse even an egg for being too smelly." Only then did I realize that my parents had never liked Cheng Li Wen all along. Only because of me did they endure. Thinking of Lin Xiuan's arrival, she quickly made a sugar egg pudding. Lin Xiuan, holding up that bowl filled with golden egg blossoms, eagerly passed it to me. "Su Qing, you eat. I'm not thirsty." I quickly turned my head away. "Eat your own, this stuff is too sweet and cloying. I've long since grown sick of it." Ha ha ha. The side character's eyes are practically glued to that bowl, and yet she pretends not to care. True chameleon of hypocrisy, this contrast is oddly cute. What's going on? But I think the heroine's better off at the side character's home. The side character's parents don't seem like the type to help the villain. After dinner, Lin Xiuan picked up a bag of grain and said, "Madam, this is my ration food. From now on, mix it in with the household grain." My mother didn't hesitate. "Lin, don't worry, we're not stingy people. What we eat, you eat too. You won't go hungry." Lin Xiuan nodded with a smile, her eyes full of relief. But that night, I slept restlessly. Every time I closed my eyes, flashbacks from my past life flooded in. Cheng Liwen's shameless face demanding food stamps from my mother before returning to the city. Cheng Liwen pushing me down the stairs. Cheng Liwen calling me a cripple in front of my father. And that sentence, "It's all because of you that Lin Xiuan suffers so much." When I woke up, my heart was still pounding and cold sweat drenched my forehead. I immediately got out of bed and rushed to the west wing, terrified that Cheng Liwen might be staying there. But before my hand could touch the door panel, the door opened by itself. Lin Xiuan stepped out, her hair neatly combed, wearing a faded blue cloth shirt. She looked surprised when she saw me, then squinted and said, "Good morning, Su Qing." My heart dropped back into place. "Good morning, Lin Xiuan. Did you sleep well?" At breakfast, I learned that Lin Xiuan had risen before dawn and helped my mother cook. If my mother hadn't hurried her back, she'd still be helping wash clothes. In just one night, I knew in my bones that my mother truly liked Lin Xiuan. In my last life, her kindness to Cheng Liwen had only been due to my persistent begging, but Lin Xiuan was genuinely hardworking. She rose before dawn to help fetch water, and after every meal she volunteered to wash dishes, even while my mother stitched shoes. She could silently help thread the needle. She had eyes to see tasks and hands that moved quickly. My mother mused, "If only this child were my daughter-in-law, how wonderful that would be." But sadly, my older brother had died, leaving me as the only child in the family. After breakfast, Lin Xiuan went promptly to the fields to work. I followed my father's arrangement, going daily to the brigade office to help compile accounts, which was easier than working under the sun in the fields. The brigade accountant was going to the commune for a 2-week training course, and before leaving, he assigned me the task of organizing the account books, perhaps due to experiences from a previous life. This time I handled the task with ease. Those workpoint records that had once seemed difficult were completed in no time. Then I suddenly remembered that Lin Shuyans had asked me in the morning for some wood ash and sanitary napkins, worrying something might be wrong. I hurried toward the fields. At that moment, the educated youths were rolling up their trouser legs, bending over, and learning to transplant rice seedlings from the old farmers. Lu Wei, with sharp eyes, spotted me from a distance and nudged Cheng Liwen beside him with his elbow. "Look, Su Qing is here again. I told you she couldn't do without you. She must have regretted it last night." Cheng Liwen had been bending over to plant rice seedlings, but upon hearing this, he straightened up slowly, rolling his mud-stained trouser legs, standing in the flooded paddy. Every movement, even transplanting rice, carried an air of deliberately cultivated elegance. In a previous life, I would have already run over flushed with embarrassment, fearing he was suffering or overworking. I would have even insisted on filling Cheng Liwen's workpoint record to the limit, but now, I ignored him and walked straight to Lin Shuyans, who was pale-faced, handing her the water bottle. "Lin Jiqing, I brought your water bottle." At that moment, a sharp voice rang out from behind. "Cheng Jiqing," that piercing voice. I turned around and saw definitely it was Su Yume, the fourth daughter of the village head. She wore the same twisted braid as Lin Shuyans. in a similar blue cloth shirt. I had once imitated her like that, but without Lin Shuyan's grace. I only looked awkward and out of place. In my previous life, I had quarreled with her over Cheng Liwen countless times. She called me a pestering harpy, and I cursed her, a delusional obsessive. Once while washing clothes by the river, we almost knocked each other's wooden tubs into the water. Eventually, the village head was so frustrated he asked a distant relative in the county to take Su Yume to help manage a shop, which finally stopped the trouble. Now, she had clearly heard that Cheng Liwen had been assigned to the Li widow's house and shot me a furious glare. Su Yume hurried straight to Cheng Liwen's side. Cheng Liwen, my family's east annex is empty, clean and bright. Why don't you move in with us? Look, I told you the side character did it on purpose. First, she pushed Cheng Liwen away. Then when the third girl steps up, she secretly follows. Isn't this just being desperate? Look at how she just said she didn't care about Cheng Liwen. And now she's following him again, following him just for Cheng Liwen. Then why did she go straight to Lin Shuyan's, not even glancing in Cheng Liwen's direction? You can't say that. If Su Qing truly brought Cheng Liwen back to her house, what about Lin Shuyan's? Should she be reassigned to the Li widow again? Cheng Liwen didn't directly reply to Su Yume but instead glanced in my direction, probably assuming I came with Su Yume and expecting to see me get jealous. Lu Wei chuckled beside him. Hey, Cheng Liwen's charm is something else. You just let go of Su Qing, and now Su Yume's here. Su Yume blushed at his words. I mean this seriously. My place is far better than Li widow's. My mother even makes oil pancakes. Cheng Liwen gave Su Yume a kind smile. Comrade Yume, how could I accept that? Everyone around turned to look at us, leaning in to listen, probably considering Su Yume's words too blunt. Cheng Liwen put on a serious expression. Assigning housing for the educated youths is the brigade's arrangement. As educated youths, we must obey orders and follow instructions. Despite saying that, his eyes kept glancing at Su Yume's face, clearly waiting for her to press further. Su Yume could not understand the subtle hints and looked at him reverently. But you're a scholar, your hands are meant for writing. How can you do such a rough labor as bending to plant seedlings? I told my father, why don't you go to the brigade's warehouse to keep records? That job is much lighter. The word sounded familiar. I've told my father the same thing. When she said this, Lin Shuyan was right beside Cheng Liwen. The sun was scorching, and the strands of hair across her forehead were soaked with sweat, yet her hands never stopped working. She was still swiftly separating seedlings and planting them into the soil, her movements steadier than many veteran commune members. Lin Shuyan straightened up, her legs numb from squatting for too long. When she realized I was holding a bowl of brown sugar water, she smiled at me, revealing two shallow dimples. Thank you, you really don't care about Cheng Liwen anymore, do you? Lu Wei had somehow crept up behind me, teasing. Back then, whenever he spoke a few words with any woman, you'd fly into a rage. I was pouring water into Lin Shuyan's bowl, without even lifting my head. That's not right. What could possibly be going on between me and Cheng Liwen? Right, what could there possibly be? Cheng Liwen had never wanted to walk too close to me in public, always saying, it's not good for people to see us together, it'll ruin my reputation. Every time we arranged to meet, he'd choose the old locust tree by the riverbank, and make me wait for him first, but I had saved for months to buy him a cotton shirt with cloth coupons, and he accepted it. And the milk powder my mother had someone bring me from town, he took that too, yet to outsiders, it always looked like it was just one-sided, my feelings carrying the whole burden. Suddenly, Lu Wei chimed in with a sneering, sarcastic tone. Su Qing, weren't you the one who always tried to get close to Cheng Liwen, or are you really this fickle? For a moment, I was stunned. What was Lu Wei talking about? Then I heard Lin Shuyan's voice from behind me. Lu Wei, you're a sent-down youth. We came to the countryside to support the country, not to gossip. Focus on your own work. Lu Wei was speechless. Fine, Lin Shuyan, be careful with this Su Qing. She's not what she seems. She nearly pushed Su Yume into the river last time. She's truly malicious. How dare you slander me? I leapt to my feet, trembling with anger. It was clearly Su Yume's basin that had fallen into the river. She slipped and followed it down. Lu Wei shouldered his hoe and ran off into the distance. I remembered how, in my previous life, after my legs became paralyzed, my father took me to the police. When the officers summoned Lu Wei, he claimed he knew nothing about it. Thinking of this, I suddenly felt drained of energy, slumping back down beside the field ridge. Su Qing, don't pay attention to him, Lin Shiyan said, walking over and patting my shoulder. I kept my head down, unable to speak, my eyes suddenly burning with tears. I believe you, ha. I flinched and looked up at Lin Shiyan. Her eyes held not the slightest doubt. For the first time in my life, aside from my parents, no one had ever believed me so firmly, and what Lin Shiyan said next was even more unexpected. In fact, I don't really know Cheng Liwen well, I murmured, but Cheng Liwen always said he liked you, how you were soulmates, and that you planned to come down to the countryside together. You have to understand. Cheng Liwen's memoirs sold incredibly well in my last life. They were almost as famous as Love in the Time of Hawes. Countless people shed tears over the romance between Cheng Liwen and Lin Shiyan, yet Lin Shiyan looked cold, annoyance in her eyes. No, I have no relationship at all with Cheng Liwen. In the past, we arrived at the same commune together on the same truck. Just a coincidence. She said those romantic-sounding remarks were entirely fabricated by Cheng Liwen, she said. Cheng Liwen didn't even speak more to her than the work management cadre she talked to every day, she said. People around them always looked at her with prejudice. After learning I had feelings for Cheng Liwen, they only thought it finally meant they could get rid of him. Cheng Liwen and Su Yume were still bickering by the field ridge. Already, Zhang, the old cadre responsible for counting points, had furrowed his brow. He couldn't stand young people slacking off and chatting while work was being done. He said sternly, "Yume girl, if you want to talk, go back to the village, don't interfere with the intellectuals' work, or whose fault is it when you delay the working hours?" Su Yume glanced at Zhang's serious expression and grudgingly walked away. She had just walked away when Cheng Liwen turned to me, his tone clearly. "Su Qing. Didn't you say last time you wanted me to help you copy some quotations and paste them on the wall? I'm free after work today." But clearly, all the land had been painstakingly cultivated by other educated youth. What's going on? The male lead actually initiated a conversation with the side character. Does he finally realize he can't live without Su Qing? Wake up, you fools. He isn't initiating this chat at all. He only remembered Su Qing's value because he failed to keep Su Yume around. And haven't you all seen it? Most of the seedlings were planted by Lin Shiyan alone, while Cheng Liwen just stood by, posing. I truly feel sorry for Lin Shiyan. Sweat is running into her eyes, and she keeps working. He probably thought my earlier aloofness was just an act. He believed that if he just offered the slightest opening, I'd rush back to him like before. No need. My mother already asked Teacher Wang at the village school. Her handwriting is better than yours. I had just finished packing my sugar water flask and was preparing to head back to the office. Cheng Liwen's face froze. It must have been that Su Yume failed to convince her father. The village chief was a man who valued rules above all. How could he change the team's assignment just because his daughter said so? Cheng Liwen still lived in Widow Li's house. Every day when he went to work or came back, he'd slow down occasionally as he passed the wall of my house. Yet I never chased out like I had in the past. He probably hadn't yet tasted the bitterness of Widow Li's household. At first glance, Widow Li seemed warm and hospitable, but in truth she was miserly as could be. She'd served Cheng Liwen hot water on the surface, but secretly hoarded half his grain ration. She was also the queen of pretense. Whenever she saw cadre members, she'd cry about poverty, claiming how much she helped the educated youth. In the previous life, things were even worse. When Lin Shiyan was assigned to her household, all the milk powder and fabric from her family's package were seized under the pretense of helping her store them. By the time Lin Shiyan discovered it, the milk powder was already devoured by Erju, and the fabric had been altered into clothing for Widow Li's niece. All this was recorded by Cheng Liwen in his memoirs. He always expressed deep disgust toward me every time he mentioned it. Now that he was suffering the same fate, he surely wouldn't blame me, right? About half a month later, a commotion suddenly erupted in the cornfield one morning. Cheng, the educated youth, has fainted. By the time Lin Shiyan and I arrived, Cheng Liwen had already been carried to the edge of the field. His face was as pale as paper, his lips tinged blue. Lu Wei paced anxiously nearby, screaming, "Liwen, wake up." It was Lin Shiyan who stayed calm. She dug out a small water flask from her cloth bag. It was the sugar water she'd been saving for herself, and carefully poured it into Cheng Liwen's mouth. After a while, he finally opened his eyes slowly, his voice weak as a mosquito. I'm fine. What happened? Just then, the team doctor arrived and bent down to examine him. He's suffering from hypoglycemia, not serious, just hungry. He needs to eat proper meals more often instead of just drinking watery soup. The doctor turned to Cheng Liwen and asked, "What did you eat this morning?" Cheng Liwen's throat bobbed, voice hoarse, "Just, a bowl of vegetable porridge." As soon as he finished speaking, Widow Li, there to watch the spectacle, suddenly let out a cry, collapsing into a sob on the ground. "Oh, Cheng, educated youth, if anything happens to you, how will I report to the village?" She wiped her eyes with her sleeve while slapping her thighs and wailing, "I've been cooking for you every day from dawn to dusk. I even boiled you eggs the day before yesterday. Why don't you care about yourself?" Her lament echoed across the field. No one could fail to hear that she was clearly trying to deflect her own responsibility. Cheng Liwen just sat there, not even finishing his words before he was helped to a shaded spot under a tree to rest. Of course, he couldn't work today. No labor points for him. Lu Wei was a rogue who dodged work and avoided responsibility, even ignoring his own labor allocation. He certainly didn't care about Cheng Liwen. That afternoon, I stepped out of the team office to see Cheng Liwen staggering toward me, each step unsteady. The sun stretched his shadow long. That face, once filled with pride, now showed nothing but an undeniable weakness. "Su Qing, can you lend me some food coupons?" The voice made me feel dazed. I looked at Cheng Liwen, his face pale with dark circles, his eyes dull and lifeless. The work he did now was completely different from what he'd done over the years in my family. Back then, I'd always pestered my father, and after Cheng Liwen moved in, he'd been assigned light work, keeping labor records and copying notices. He'd spend just 2 hours a day hanging around the commune office, easily earning a full quota. But now, he had to get up before dawn with the villagers, bending to plant rice paddies and swinging his hoe to pull weeds. He couldn't escape any of it, and besides, Li Guofu's house wasn't comparable to the educated youth station. At least there was a communal kitchen, where every meal offered a thick porridge. Li Guofu was notorious for being miserly. The corn porridge she served Cheng Liwen was so watery you could see the shadow at the bottom of the bowl. As for white flour buns or even a bit of pickled vegetables, she only gave him a single chopstick's worth. After this relentless schedule for half a month, anyone would be exhausted to the core. Worst of all, her stupid son Erju often screamed suddenly in the dead of night, and sometimes even ran barefoot to the door of the shed where Cheng Liwen lived, pounding on the door and yelling, "I want my new wife, open the door." The male lead once wrote so grandly in his memoirs about how he endured hardship and forged his will in the countryside. How come now, only a few days have passed, and he's already rushing to the female subordinate for support? It's not only strange, he's avoided Su Qing before, but now, when she ignores him, he actually comes chasing after her for food coupons. This isn't love. Clearly, he sees Su Qing as a free food depot. His previously fair face was now darkened by the sun. His hair messy and tangled over his forehead, where was the slightest trace of a scholar's dignity. But I also remembered that every time Lin Shi left Li Guofu's house back in my previous life, she always appeared clean and neat, her eyes always shining brightly. I shook my head. I don't have any. Back then, before Cheng Liwen could even speak, as soon as I sensed he was in trouble, I'd immediately take out my food coupons, hand them to him, and leave. But he'd often ask to borrow, but had never repaid them once. "If you truly can't bear it anymore," I said coldly, "go tell the team leader and ask for a different living arrangement." I dropped those words and turned to walk away without looking back. After returning from the fields that day, I never saw him again. Li Guofu wasn't willing to let go of the food rations that came with Cheng Liwen. Whenever the team leader came to inquire, Li Guofu would naturally say she would treat him like a real son. But Cheng Liwen's occasional fainting spells were clearly seen by the villagers. Just when I expected Cheng Liwen to go to the team leader himself and ask for a different place to live, on that day, Su Yume accidentally fell into the river, and it was Cheng Liwen who dived in to save her. No one saw the exact details, but in the end, Cheng Liwen jumped into the water and pulled her out. When Su Yume was carried home in tears by her mother, Cheng Li Wen had collapsed straight on the riverbank, apparently having exerted so much energy saving her that he nearly collapsed too. Su Yumei's father was the village chief. Looking at the unconscious Cheng Li Wen and his daughter's pale face, he immediately made the decision, carry Cheng's evening study student to my eastern wing room, let your mother take good care of him. Thus, Cheng Li Wen naturally moved out of Li Guofu's house and moved into Su Yumei's household. When I came to the commune office, I ran into Su Yumei's mother carrying a basket home. The basket held brown sugar and eggs. She kept repeating to people. Thanks to Cheng, our Yumei would have been gone. This boy's so honest, almost sacrificing himself to save someone. He really needs to be well nourished. Lu Wei leaned close to me, winking and nudging me. See, Cheng Li Wen still has his ways. Now not only does he get a better house, he'll be able to eat white flour buns every day. I didn't reply, only remembering the urgency Cheng Li Wen had shown the last time he asked me for food coupons. Could this have been a suffering in ambition scheme? He just wanted to get out of the mess of Li's widow's house. Don't you find this a bit suspicious? I turned to Lu Wei. Cheng Li Wen couldn't even stand steady at work before, but today he had the strength to jump into the river and save someone. Lu Wei stiffened. You just can't stand it if Cheng Li Wen is doing well. I didn't say anything more, staring toward the direction of Su Yumei's courtyard, my heart sinking. Su Yumei wasn't a bad person, but I couldn't help but feel uneasy. So I deliberately took a detour around the village head's yard in the afternoon. I happened to see Cheng Li Wen sitting on the stone bench in the yard basking in the sun, with Su Yumei beside him offering him water. It was a while before he went inside to rest. When I pushed open the slightly ajar courtyard gate and stepped in, Su Yumei saw me and her smile faded. What do you want? I fixed my eyes on her. Did you do it on purpose? You've walked that riverbank for over 10 years. How could you suddenly slip? What are you saying? She stammered. Cheng Li Wen isn't a good person. He just wants to use this situation to move into your house. Now Su Yumei slammed her enamel cup onto the stone table. I'm happy with it, even if he did have plans. So what? But I was about to say something about Cheng Li Wen's true nature, but she cut me off. Su Qing, you just can't bear to see me happy. Su Yumei stood up, her back straight, back when you were chasing Cheng Li Wen. I couldn't even speak to him without you glaring at me. Now he's staying at my place, and you're here practically every other day bad-mouthing him. Su Qing, don't be so petty. I looked into her stubborn eyes and suddenly couldn't find words. Some people simply won't turn back until they hit a wall. What is Su Qing doing? Does she just hate seeing the male lead doing well again? Don't you think there's something off about this male lead? Why is every good thing happening to him? Stop the baseless hate. Besides, the key thing is that the female lead is living really well now, staying at Su Qing's house without any suffering. Seriously, does Su Qing even see the male lead anymore? She looks a lot better than when she was chasing Cheng Li Wen. Let Cheng Li Wen and Su Yumei do whatever they want. Just don't bother the female lead. Wish yourself well, I said, turning to leave. My chest felt constricted. Hey, Su Qing. Now that Cheng Li Wen is living at my place. My dad is the village head. How dare he pull any tricks? My father won't forgive him first. Su Yumei's voice suddenly rang out from behind. Su Qing, is something wrong? Lin Shiyan asked when she saw my gloomy expression. Our relationship recently had been neither good nor bad. We hadn't really mentioned Cheng Li Wen, but now, after hesitating for a long time, I finally said, if Cheng Li Wen really ends up with Su Yumei, I'll always feel like a sinner. Although Su Yumei was quick-tempered, she had a good heart. If she were truly with Cheng Li Wen, she might have to endure a lot of hardships. Lin Shiyan didn't stop her movements, her voice soft. Everyone makes their own choices. This is their own decision, nothing to do with you. It does have to do with me. It does. I suddenly broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Lin Shiyan, if I hadn't changed my mind, Cheng Li Wen would have lived at my place. Then it would have been you who was assigned to Li's widow's house. You would have had a really hard time then. Lin Shiyan was stunned. I finally said the words from my previous life. I'm sorry, Lin Shiyan, I'm sorry. Back then, I was so foolish, only thinking about myself. No, Su Qing, you're wrong. This has nothing to do with you. Lin Shiyan suddenly said. What? You didn't intentionally hurt me. Why are you apologizing to me? But, it's because of me. Her words were completely different from Cheng Li Wen's. But Cheng Liwen's accusation still echoed in my ears. If it weren't for you, Lin Shiyan wouldn't have suffered so much. This is my life. Lin Shiyan turned to me, her eyes shining with startling intensity. Even if I'm assigned to Li Widow's household and life there proves difficult, I won't give up. I'll save up work points, find ways to read books, and wait for a chance to return to the city. I won't sit around waiting for someone to grant me an opportunity. But Cheng Liwen said. I froze. Realizing I'd almost slipped and revealed something from my past life. Cheng Liwen is someone who only ever thinks of himself. Even if you hadn't changed your mind, once he moved into your home and saw that I was assigned to Li Widow's house, he wouldn't have done anything. He complains just because his own living accommodations aren't comfortable. How could he ever care about someone else's fate? Hearing these words, I was struck as if by lightning. Memories of my past life flooded back. That was right. If Cheng Liwen truly cared so much about Lin Shiyan, why hadn't he helped her move out of Li's household? Instead, he freely enjoyed the comfortable life I had provided. The more I look at it, the weirder it gets. This male lead, Cheng Liwen, writes in his memoirs that he had a mutual fondness with Lin, the educated youth. Isn't that just him inventing it all in his head? The female protagonist clearly has nothing but disdain for Cheng Liwen in her words. I bet she's more genuine in her feelings toward the secondary female character than toward Cheng Liwen. Exactly. How can we trust someone's personal memoirs? Cheng Liwen's the type who always tries to paint himself in a good light. Probably as his life went downhill later, he started beautifying the events of the past. So I don't have to carry someone else's destiny. She looked at me, her eyes calm and clear, as if seeing straight through. Just like now, living here is giving me a chance. The rest of the road, I have to walk myself. Just those words from Lin Shiyan that day fully untangled the knot in my heart. That morning, my mother went to the village school to deliver some pickles. And when she came back, she said Teacher Wang was pregnant, her legs swollen, and she was desperately looking for a substitute teacher to take over for half a year. My immediate thought was Lin Shiyan. She had solid academic foundations and excellent handwriting, perfect for the job. When I mentioned it to my father, he went right away to see the village chief. Knowing Lin Shiyan loved reading, the chief immediately decided, let her try. It'll be a good test. She can have the interview tomorrow. Meanwhile, Lin Shiyan passed her interview all right. The village chief and Teacher Wang were absolutely delighted, saying, it's settled. You've got it. Just head straight to class in 2 days. But today, when I took her to the commune office to collect teaching materials, I barely reached the door when I heard Su Yumei's voice from inside. Cheng Liwen wore his new blue khaki shirt, the cuffs neatly ironed, looking once more like a distinguished scholar, exuding confidence and spirit. Su Yumei leaned against her father, coquettishly saying, Dad, after class, Liwen will go with me into town to buy things. Hurry up. My heart instantly sank. So Cheng Liwen had also wanted to be this substitute teacher. Even more surprising was that he had already engaged to Su Yumei that quickly. I walked straight to the chief's office desk. Chief, we're here to collect Teacher Lin's teaching materials. The chief took a long drag on his pipe, then said, Su Qing. Lin Shiyan is an educated youth. We later realized that Cheng Liwen is more suitable to teach, so we decided, Lin Shiyan will no longer be required to come to the village school for now. My tone rose with emotion, but you clearly said. Lin Shiyan tugged gently on my sleeve, signaling me not to get too worked up. In the memoirs, isn't it still talking about the secondary female character separating them? But clearly, he just picked the path that required the least effort. Hilarious, saying he lamented the chance to be with Lin, the educated youth, for life. Yet now he's even trying to snatch this easy substitute teaching job. Believe in a man's deep feelings. Try believing I'm Emperor Qin Shi Huang instead. A man's so-called deep feelings and ambitions shatter like thin paper in the face of actual interests. Looking at Su Yumei's high and mighty look, I swallowed my frustration. I understand. Chief, after walking out, Cheng Liwen caught up to me, deliberately asking, Su Qing, Lin Shiyan, you're here to handle business too. I'm going with Yumei to the supply and marketing cooperative to get some fabric, to make our wedding dress. His posture was like one proudly showing off. Su Yumei also puffed out her chest and shook the red string on her wrist. Once we're engaged, we'll treat the whole village to candy. You must come then. Su Qing, Lin Shiyan, I'm sorry. After Cheng Liwen and Su Yumei walked away arm in arm, I muttered regretfully. Lin Shiyan comforted me. It's already good that we gave it a try. You can't force things. It wasn't just a try. Seeing the unopened teaching materials in Lin Shiyan's arms, something heavy seemed to block my chest. Just last night, she had been busily preparing material for the Blackboard newsletter. I stared into her eyes and suddenly remembered the news about the college entrance exam. At that time, who would care about a temporary teaching position in a village school? It's okay, Lin Shiyan. Just wait another half year. Lin Shiyan looked at me in confusion, her eyebrows slightly raised. Half a year? I nodded vigorously. Yes, in half a year, there'll be a big opportunity. Far better than being a temporary teacher. When the time comes, you can go wherever you want. Stand on whatever kind of podium you want. As for Cheng Liwen, he was already so proud just for getting a temporary teaching position. Once the news of the college entrance exam came, he'd realize he'd been trapped by his identity as the village chief's son-in-law. When he found out he'd need the Su family's approval just to register, he'd probably regret it more than anyone. Sure enough, half a year after Cheng Liwen and Su Yumei got married, the college entrance exam resumed. As soon as the news spread, the educated youth instantly dropped their tools and broke down in tears. Even the usually calm Lin Shiyan couldn't hold back her red eyes. She had been quietly reading all along, refusing to give up. This was the opportunity they'd waited for over the years. When my parents heard about the college exam, they spent the night searching through trunks, pulling out old books hidden at the bottom. The next day, they asked relatives visiting the county to buy a few usable guidebooks. As soon as they came home, they shoved them into Lin Shiyan's hands. Shiyan, stop working in the fields. From today on, you study at home. I'll have Su Qing do all the chores. I quickly cleared out an old wooden chest and set up a temporary desk for her. The side character is actually quite nice. She's making sure Lin Shiyan can study in peace. Real sisters can't even do that. That's true. But what if she messes with her before the exam? You're being too cynical. At this point, what could she possibly do? She'll get humiliated in the end. When I brought the old book chest over, I saw Lin Shiyan smiling at me. Su Qing, don't just help me. Study with me. I was stunned, pointing at my own nose. I'm taking the exam too. I barely finished middle school in this life. Just being able to read was already good. The idea of going to university had never crossed my mind. In my previous life, I focused on chasing Cheng Liwen. I even joined adult literacy classes to get closer to him. I wanted to go to university with him, but Cheng Liwen only taught me for 2 days before scowling. How can you be so stupid? Pigs are smarter than you. Fine, Su Qing, don't bother studying this. Just wait for me to go to university in peace, and you'll have a good life. I scratched my head awkwardly. I'm already so old to be learning this. I probably can't do it, Lin Shiyan said. Why not? Didn't the team leader praise you for being so efficient at work and good at keeping accounts? I was about to shake my head when my mother walked in with freshly boiled eggs. Just try, girl, we've never had a university graduate in our family. If you both get in, I'll go light incense for our ancestors. Hearing that, my heart started pounding. My older brother died young, leaving me as the only daughter at home. When Cheng Liwen received his acceptance letter, he used my fiancé status to take it, and my parents were filled with excitement, saying they'd go worship their ancestors with the letter. Later, Cheng Liwen took the letter straight back to the city, and my parents were deeply disappointed. This time, if I received the acceptance letter, even if it wasn't from a top university like Huadian, it would still bring honor to my parents, wouldn't it? So, I enrolled in studying with Lin Shiyan and studied diligently for 40 days. Every day, my dreams were filled with the content of the book. On the day of registration, I was stunned to see Cheng Liwen appear in the crowd. Su Yumei was standing nearby, watching us warily. I heard that on the day the college entrance exam was restored, he had locked himself in the East Wing room, pulling out the textbooks he'd brought and studying them until midnight. The next morning, he promptly told Su Yumei he wanted to concentrate on his studies, the moment the words left his mouth. Su Yumei exploded, while heavily pregnant. At 5 months, she angrily said, "You want to go to university, you're going to leave us, aren't you? What about me and the baby?" Cheng Liwen tried to explain hastily, "Only when I get into college can we have a better life." We can't spend our whole lives in this village. I just want to stay in the village. The two of them argued loudly inside the house. Their noise loud enough for half the village to hear. The village chief stepped in, looking at Su Yumei's tear-streaked face, saying, "Li Wen, you are the son-in-law of the Su family. You have to act like one. Yumei is pregnant. You can't make her angry." In the end, in front of Su Yumei's father and her three brothers, Cheng Li Wen wrote a pledge, pressed his red fingerprint, and swore that once he finished college, he would bring Su Yumei to live in the city. But Su Yumei was still probably afraid, so she often made him do chores. She sent him to fetch water, to chop firewood, even made him sit nearby while she mended clothes, calling it cultivating marital affection. Su Yumei's three older brothers weren't any less troublesome, often coming over to lecture this brother-in-law. How could Cheng Li Wen endure such treatment? In my previous life, my parents treated him like an honored guest at our home, never letting him touch any heavy labor, allowing him to sit peacefully indoors reading books. But now, even to pick up a textbook, he had to secretly flip through a few pages when Su Yumei took her afternoon nap. Seeing me filling out the registration form, Cheng Li Wen looked utterly incredulous. "You want to take the university entrance exam too?" I was carefully writing my name. Yes, he probably thought I was fooling around and put on an elder's tone. "Su Qing, listen to me. Entering university isn't that easy. You need a solid foundation." "I don't really think it's hard," I replied, handing him the registration form and smiling at him. "After all, I have no family or dependents to hold me back. Besides, Lin Shiyan said I was smart and learned things quickly." The following April, postal workers began delivering admission letters one after another. Every day, he'd carry a bulging mailbag and come to the team office, calling out names. 7 or 8 educated youths had been accepted. The day Lin Shiyan's letter arrived, the postman specifically raised his voice. "Comrade Lin Shiyan, admission letter from Huada University." The whole village erupted in excitement. "It's Huada University." The village chief held the admission letter with the university emblem printed on it, his hands trembling as he checked it 3 times before finally handing it over to her. But Cheng Li Wen never received one. It said that on the test day, Cheng Li Wen suddenly suffered diarrhea and fainted right in the exam room. Every day, I crouched in the office waiting, but never heard my name. Each time, I left disappointment behind at the team office. Once, Cheng Li Wen even came and comforted me. "Su Qing, don't blame me for being blunt. You're so stupid. You can't get in." I paid no attention to him. I waited another 5 days. On that day, I was helping Lin Shiyan pack her luggage for Beijing, when suddenly the postman called out from outside the courtyard, "Su Qing, admission letter from Beijing." "What?" I snatched the envelope and examined it carefully. It was really for me. What's more, the school was the one Lin Shiyan had previously circled for me, close to her university. I got in. "Lin Shiyan, I really got in." She leaned in to look, her joy greater than when she received her own acceptance letter. "Su Qing, I told you you could do it." "Thank you, Lin Shiyan." I suddenly felt a lump in my throat. If you hadn't taken me with you to study and taught me how to solve problems, I wouldn't even have understood the textbooks. I never in my life imagined I could get into college. In my past life, my greatest dream was simply to follow Cheng Li Wen to the county town. But this life, I could go to college thanks entirely to the person beside me. Yet Lin Shiuan shook her head, saying, "No, Su Qing, it's still a result of your own hard work. That name up there was earned by your own hand, one stroke at a time." The village held a welcome party for the educated youths and villagers who had been admitted to college. Lin Shiuan and I sat at the long table, listening intently as the other youths introduced the universities they'd been accepted to. I heard the tuition is completely free, and they even give us living allowances every month. After graduation, they'll assign us jobs as teachers. A few others beside us nodded in agreement. "The same for our school. It offers job assignments, so we don't have to worry about work." Just then, an outburst erupted at the adjacent table. We turned our heads. There stood Cheng Li Wen clutching a wine bottle, pointing at Lu Wei on the opposite side. "Why did you get in, Lu Wei? You couldn't even do trigonometric functions back then." "That's not right. I shouldn't be like this." Lu Wei looked somewhat awkward. "What nonsense are you blabbering? I was a high school student. I should have been better than all of you. Why could you go to the normal university?" and that country bumpkin Su Qing get accepted to Beijing, while I can't pass any exam. Now anyone with eyes could hear the bitterness in his voice. Where was the pride and confidence he had in the past life? When he received his admission letter to Huashan University, the brigade captain shook his head, looking at Cheng Liwen, then turned and said to those trying to calm things down, he just can't accept it, it's no big deal. College admissions aren't limited to one chance, just try again next time. Finally, Su Yumei, embarrassed, half-dragged, half-pulled Cheng Liwen away. Lin Xiuan and I went off to college in Beijing together, living a fulfilling life. The shadow of my past life gradually faded away. As for news of Cheng Liwen, I heard it from my mother during winter vacation when I returned home, that Cheng Liwen, he's really gone crazy. They say he repeated school for several years. But every time before the exam, he'd either get a fever or twist his ankle. It was said that once, he actually did quite well in the exam, yet the admission letter never reached him. Later they found out Su Yumei's brother had intercepted it at the commune's post office. He probably suspected it was Su's family's doing and tried to return to the city to take shelter with his parents. But his younger brother had already started a family and had children. There was no space for him in the city. Eventually, after Su Yumei's child had grown enough to run and jump, the Su family decided the danger was over and let him go to concentrate on his studies. Despite all this, Cheng Liwen barely managed to get into a decent university, but only half a year after starting. Someone caught him being overly familiar with a female student in the library. In the end, the three older brothers from the Su family went to his school. Seeing that Cheng Liwen wouldn't admit it, Su Yumei's eldest brother broke his leg right on the spot. Her third brother even reported Cheng Liwen for concealing his marriage status and attempting to abandon his wife and children. At that time, ideological conduct issues were taken very seriously. After receiving the report, the university immediately summoned Cheng Liwen for a discussion and ordered his expulsion. Eventually, Cheng Liwen had to return in disgrace. After returning to the village, Cheng Liwen spent each day huddled in the eastern wing of the Su household, refusing to work the fields. Within 2 years, he ballooned in weight, his belly swelling outward. One day, after a fierce quarrel with Su Yumei, "You surnamed Cheng, get out of here, I'm not serving a loser like you." One day, when Lin Xiuan and I returned to the village to handle paperwork, we saw Cheng Liwen wandering by the village edge. Muttering to himself, "I am from Huadu, I married the leader's daughter." After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.